Let me turn off my phone.
I gotta find the questions real quick.
She needs to find the questions. Crazy, I'm answering crazy questions today about prison, I suppose. Apparently it's all people want to hear about prison. So, I guess we'll start here. Are you gonna start?
Way to take over. Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Zola, a girl in recovery. Today we have a special guest. This is my partner.
Very special.
My very special person. This is my person.
Yeah.
My number one, for sure. Definitely wouldn't be where I'm at without him, without his
Because
love.
I'm awesome. I'm the best.
And he's really humble. He's like the most humble person. Like, humility is his strong point for sure.
Yeah, I've never done this before, but I'm just gonna let it fly. I don't.
Natural.
It just doesn't really. Whatever. Let's do it.
Diving right in. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I asked on Twitter, would you guys be interested in doing a Q&A with my partner who is
An ex-con.
An ex-con. I don't want to say convicted.
Rehabilitated.
Yeah. Reformed.
I am a convicted felon.
Reformed convict.
But you know, I don't live like that anymore.
Exactly, and he's also in recovery, just like me. I think it'll be an interesting topic. Would you agree that your time in prison did help promote your recovery, or no?
No.
No.
No, it didn't.
Okay, and why not?
Because I was around a bunch of addicts. That didn't even come across my mind. I didn't think about addiction. I never even cared about addiction.
All right, well, let's get started with which prisons did you serve time at, and approximately how long? I know it was a long time ago, so you know, just do your best. What was the first prison you ever went to, and for how long?
The very first prison I went to was DRDC, and that's an intake, maximum security holding facility.
And how long were you there?
You mean the first time?
Yeah.
Okay, a couple weeks, I think.
And then
maybe 3 weeks.
Where'd they ship you off to?
They shipped me off to Canyon City. Territorial prison. It was a really old prison, like inmates built it. It's like made in the 1800s or something.
They call it territorial because it was made back before Colorado was actually a state. It was made when it was still a territory. Colorado became a state in 1876, so it was built by prisoners before that. It's built into a canyon, and it's almost like a human rights violation in and of itself. The fact that it's still running, it's so old and just falling apart. And
oh yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. Nobody cares. I mean, people care, but not the people in power. Then I know you did some time in Sterling, right?
Well, before that I was in Walsenburg. It was a private run for profit type of prison. They had people from that were uneducated about anything to do with prison, and you know what the inmates can do to get over and to get drugs into the facility. The drugs are what causes the problem. There's other things that cause problems too, but drugs are the issue, like they are for most of the people that are in there. Private
prisons had improperly trained guards.
It was terrible.
And bad security, and basically just straight up.
Yeah, there was so
straight
many
up
drugs.
A good time for the prisoner, but not a good time if you're actually looking for any type of reform or.
No.
Okay.
We were smoking a joint in the cell one time, and I was holding on to it, and I got caught actually taking a hit off of a joint, and they said, "You guys are smoking way too much in here." Because we had cigarettes back then, we could smoke cigarettes, and I said, well, I'll put it out. And that's how ignorant they were about anything to do with drugs. They just let us smoke. We used to smoke pot sitting out in the day room and drink Pruno, is what we called it, homemade alcohol. And we used to sit out and play cards and throw joints into the pot. It was crazy.
Do you think a lot of it was like the guards just being like, this isn't my problem, I don't get paid enough to, like, I'm a single guard, I'm walking into a cell full of huge inmates, like, it's just not worth the fight? Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Maybe a little, but they were so improperly trained.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't enforce things because, yeah, they were scared, but on top of that, I don't think they got paid very much, and I don't think they just didn't care, really. I mean, I got busted getting tattoos, and they took me to the hole or whatever.
Do you want to show your tattoos real quick?
I got sleeves. I don't really like them anymore.
They're actually really good for prison tattoos. Most people can't even tell. But anyway, so those of you on Twitter did ask some questions for him to answer, so I'm going to go ahead and get started on those.
Yay!
Yay, questions! All right. At Hoppy Meow would like to know, is prisoner safety achievable? What's your view on prison labor? So that's two separate questions. So in your opinion, is prison safety achievable?
No.
No?
Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they want to lock us down 23 hours a day, which
is cruel.
I guess it's cruel. Some people need to be locked down 23 hours a day because but those people also, might have psychological issues, which is not addressed correctly in prison either. It's terrible.
What is your view on prison labor? You worked jobs in prison, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't like it. The prisons are self-run. You got the guards that oversee the people who run it. There's 2 guards, 4 guards to every 80 to 100 people. Making something run off of paying the wages of these people, and then the inmates, they get like $1 a day. It's crazy. We ran everything. The sad thing about it is that people were happy to do those things because the conditions are so bad that you live in, that getting out of your head for 8 hours or whatnot to clean, to cook, to run the line in the kitchen, to run the dishwasher, to anything that helps run the prison. People are happy to do those things.
Just to have a task.
Just to do something, to make them feel, it helps time go by faster.
Have you heard about the firemen that are being...
Yeah, I knew a lot of those people when I was in a different prison. They go off out of the facility to go fight fires, and those guys got the most pay, and they actually got to leave.
Almost sad, but then also like good.
It's almost like it's really dirty that they make things so bad that you have to, that you feel like it's a great opportunity to be able to get
to go
do
risk
slave
your
labor.
Life for $1 a day.
Yeah.
All right. Good answers.
Just being honest.
Yeah. Okay. Priscilla_nurse. What was the hardest thing about transitioning to life on the outside again? Not sure if he was inside, but if he missed, say, the iPhone launch or the invention of Twitter and had to catch up on learning stuff. I also want to know what he chose for his first meal after being released. So let's start with the
first one.
Yeah, I know you have mentioned that you went in and there wasn't a whole lot of tech, and you came out and iPhones were a thing and social media were a thing. Your last stretch was how long? 4 years? You did like 1 5-year and 1 4-year, right?
My last one was 2. See, I was so into drugs and alcohol the whole time through that I don't remember anything. I remember getting a cricket phone with the you flipped it up and you could use your thumbs to a little keyboard on it that were push buttons. It's cool. I'm a tech guy. I got certified as an electronics tech while I was in prison, and learned a lot about electronics. So I really liked the phones when I got out.
I know you are a certified electronics technician. Is that something you pursued because you actually wanted to better yourself, or was it because you were bored?
I've always liked to learn things. Okay. It was just interesting at the time, and I was not on drugs at that time, and I just at that certain prison that I was at, there wasn't as many drugs. I mean, I was able to get my hands on it, but I
not consistently.
I really was able to do something.
Was this a state prison or the private prison?
This was a state prison.
State prison gave you the opportunities to better yourself. Okay.
Yeah, in private prisons they told us they would, but it's just it's not real. It's these things. It's a little piece of paper from a prison that tells you that some outdated technology or.
So they don't really give you the opportunity to work towards having tools to help you succeed.
No. It was just really old Windows 95 programs, and you get certified in a Windows 95 program. It doesn't do much for you when you get out.
Yeah.
It just provides place for a babysitter for the inmates,
Yeah, I could see that. Oh, and do you remember your first meal after being released?
Yeah, I ate a sack lunch at a at a halfway house. I consider it being in a halfway house a release from prison. That isn't really being locked up so much. It is, but it isn't. It's halfway locked up. I was more interested in getting out and just being free than I was, eating. A lot of people put a big emphasis on eating, but my emphasis was being able to do whatever I wanted and walk around and be. That was what I emphasized on.
Was the food horrible, or how was it?
It was a lot better than the county jail.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not good.
No.
It's not the best.
All right.
At all.
Okay. This is Carlos V73. The sun shines everywhere is their tag there. What was the most difficult part of coming to understand why this punishment was appropriate? What can I do to not be here again? In detail.
Not get caught. That was my attitude back in prison. You're not around people that are good for the recovery and to be reintegrated into society once again. You're around people that are in gangs and racists and drug addicts and people that really don't care whatsoever about becoming better people. They're just trying their best to be better at getting away with things.
And I've heard that a lot. I've heard that from a lot of convicts. I know they say the only thing prison taught me was to be a better criminal.
That's all it was. There's no reform there. It's not the Department of Corrections. It's just a holding place for people. And I was telling Zola earlier, a lot of people, man, I know that are still there. I know a whole lot of people that are still in prison, and it trips me out because they're not ever getting out, or they got 50, 60 years, and they're not even, they're human, but they're ghosts, they're gone, but they're still here. It's just crazy to think about those people, and
they're alive, but they're not living.
Yeah, you don't live in there. It is its own world, but it has nothing to do with reality. I still dream about prison, but it took me a long time to start dreaming about the real world again. When I was in prison, I only dreamed of prison. It's its own world.
All right, Lisa D at Divine Lisa 717 wants to know. Let's see. She says, "I'm a nurse practitioner and I've wanted to work in a prison. Is it safe? Why or why not? Is there a hierarchy of crimes or a lower hierarchy? Are there innocent folks that have been falsely
let's do
convicted?"
one at a time.
Okay.
I don't know if I even
Nurse
remember
practitioner.
all that.
Is it
An
safe to
NP.
work in prison?
It matters what prison you want to go to. I mean, if you pick a closed security or a medium security, where inmates that are there are doing, you know, big 80, 90-year sentences. Prison I was in was doing 85% of the people had 40 plus years.
Yikes.
So, you know, that wasn't a very safe prison. People were getting stabbed and beat up. But I think for a medical role, such as being an NP or something, there isn't too much risk. Even in a bad prison, I mean, you'll get people that maybe yell and scream and get pissed off at you, but it isn't like it's not like they're going to hurt you or anything. It just wouldn't happen, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure it has, but...
nurses, they need healthcare in prisons. They really do, because the healthcare there is...
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Next question on that list.
My neck is killing me. Okay, so... is there a hierarchy of crimes or lowerarchy?
There's a lowerarchy. Child molesters, chomo is what they refer to them as. And there's rapists, people that hurt kids, you know, in any way. Like sexual hurting of children is like the bottom of the barrel, though. It's absolutely the bottom of the barrel. They get treated terribly, terribly by inmates. There's a certain morality within the inmates that exists, you know. It's really bad to be in a prison if you're one of those people. I don't have any sympathy for them, to be honest. I really don't. Those people are bad people.
Like robbery and murder and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
You get more respect, from what I've been told. Right.
You get more respect from what you do in prison than your crime. It's kind of bad like that.
Okay. Do you know any innocent people that were falsely charged and convicted?
Most people don't talk about their crime in prison. When you get close to people, they will tell you about their crimes, you know. But people don't just openly talk about stuff that's, you know, like that. They don't talk about, oh, you know, I'm in here for robbery, and oh, I'm in here for you know, this or that or the other.
Okay.
They kind of just keep it to themselves. Especially if they're innocent, I suppose. I never met a person that said they were innocent.
Okay. Same asker. Is it easy to have items smuggled in?
Again, that matters on security, the security level of the prison you're in. The most drugs that I've seen in prison are when I was in the private prison, when the workers in the kitchen, the women in the kitchen would bring in, they would get friendly, so to speak, with the inmates, and then they would bring them drugs. It's more of a risk to get them into a visit, and how they do it is a whole different story.
All right, maybe another video.
Yeah, probably.
All right, let's see. Are there guards that care about the person, not the crime? Probably those ladies in the kitchen. Yeah, who are getting swindled. They don't get close to people. They make it a like us versus them.
No, it's not necessarily that. It's, you know, if you get close to somebody, you're putting your, you know, that's like what the women in the kitchen did that Zola was talking about. That is putting yourself at risk if you get close to an inmate. Because then they could be swindling you into doing something for them. They teach them not to get close to the inmates. I mean, people are trying to get drugs, and you know, that's what drug addicts do. Everybody in there's for drugs, unless they're in there for some weird crime, or they're psychologically not intact.
Yeah. Probably the vast majority of people are in there because of their addiction
for drugs,
crimes that they did under the influence.
To get drugs,
yeah,
or while they were under the influence. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the one thing no one knows until in prison?
The one thing no one knows until in prison?
Like, what is something you were just completely unprepared for until you got there and you were like, oh, okay.
me thinking I was really tough and thinking I was like nobody's gonna mess with me in the county jails. They're not, that's not the same world. What's any way whatsoever. It's not the same. And I remember I got to prison, and I seen these guys that were just, like me, had full tattoos, sleeved out, but they were huge, like huge monsters. I felt humbled big time. Like, I ain't that tough. That's one thing you learn real quick. You ain't
got
as tough
tough
as you.
though.
Well, I changed when I was in prison for that time.
Yeah.
That I got big.
I've
and
seen pictures of him. He's like double like.
Yeah, I'm old now.
Yeah.
But yeah, a kid going in at 18, you think you're the baddest dude on the block, and you really ain't nothing. You'll get that's if you have that attitude in there and you keep it, then you're gonna have a wrecked experience.
Yeah. What was the best part of the day during when you were in prison? Like, was it the gambling?
Well, again, it matters what prison I was in.
Yeah.
When I was in the Walsenburg private facility, the best time was at night because we'd smoke a joint before bed. Like pretty much every night.
Okay, so Dave Clark. Hi, Dave.
Hello, Dave.
Dave's cool. We've been Twitter buds for a while now. He says, prison produces its own brand of PTSD. Does society provide adequate avenues for coping with this, and what can be done to improve upon this?
The sad thing about it is prisons have created this false belief that, to even talk about something like that would be just such a weakness, just terribly weak. And the prisons reinforce that by the people that are there. The people that are there are always, not showing weakness. Because you can't show weakness if you want to survive in prison without having a really hard time. And then you add the alcohol and the drugs into it, and it's just game over. But yeah, the PTSD, I never even knew or cared about that type of thing. Nobody talked to me about that sort of thing. It wasn't until I was about 32 years old, that I even imagined that I had it when I went to the psychologist, which I did on my own. It wasn't mandated by a parole officer or the system in any way. In the prison itself, when you are in the prison, they don't care whatsoever. When you get out, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. All right. Did you have more you wanted to say on that, or should I move on to the next one?
They just force you to comply.
Yeah. It's compliance, not recovery. All right. And this kind of ties into it. Rick Hoffmeister would like to know, how do they treat prisoners with addiction behind the walls?
They didn't.
They don't care.
I mean, if you get caught with your drugs, then you get treated real bad,
Yeah.
But they had drug classes and stuff, but you had to sign up for it personally. They had a program where it's almost like a rehab in the prison that they let you out early if you completed it.
Oh.
But I wasn't interested in stuff like that. I mean, that other inmates looked down on that. They frowned on it. Like, it's weak. It's a weak thing to do.
I've never been to prison. I've been to jail, and I know I've gotten arrested detoxing a couple times, and they did not care, not at all. Like,
oh no.
Yeah.
Of course not.
No, they don't care. I was never offered any help for my addiction. I even have gone to the ER and overdosed, and I was never offered any help for my addiction. I was never been asked if I would like help. Nothing. So.
Yeah, when I got MS, that's a whole nother story too, but I got addicted to drugs while I was in the medical facility, I got addicted bad. I mean, I was really strung out. They let me, they gave me the drugs, and I wanted more and more and more, and they gave me more and more and more. I had a doctor that prescribed me things, and then a Jewish doctor came in, and he saw me as a racist.
'Cause you kind of were.
Yeah, I mean, but the deal is he cut me off the drugs. That's their care level. And as everybody knows, doctors aren't supposed to have that type of a feeling, even if...
The Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah. And he just cut me off cold turkey and let me have withdrawals for about 3 weeks. It was terrible.
Yeah.
He just didn't care. I don't know if he took it personal or if he just didn't care about inmates.
Yeah.
That's the type of, workers they will hire, though, too, probably the cheapest.
Right. I mean, but let's face it, the top doctor in their class probably isn't going to want to go work in a prison. That is just how it is.
Some people do it because they care.
Yeah.
And then some people just have to go because there's no other
There's
place
nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah. So I met Adam. You had been out for a couple years, about 2 years, 3 years when I met you.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
Honestly.
And we actually met in recovery, and then about a year later we started dating, give or take. Timeline's messy. It was just so long ago, and then it was probably like 2 or 3 months after we started dating, he got off probation. So he had already been clean and sober for a while. He had been out for a while. He was getting off probation. So I never knew the person that he was. And it sounds like it's probably a good thing because he wasn't a very good person.
No.
Not that I was the best person in my addiction either. So it's interesting for me too to hear all of these stories. We talk about this stuff sometimes, but having never known the person that he was, it's interesting because I only know the person that he is, and he's such a different person now.
Yeah, I'm not with any of that stuff anymore. I'm totally different.
Yeah.
I'm totally different.
Yeah, maybe we can do another video here sometime talking about like what clicked for you and what changed and why you finally kept doing the revolving door action. Would you be willing to?
Yeah, ask your questions, whatever. I don't really care. Like, you can ask whatever.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting to talk. Although that PTSD comes through after a while. No, I'm just kidding.
It does sometimes.
I only have that problem about PTSD or whatever when I dream about it. When I dream and things become very, very real, and I wake up and thinking that I did something terrible, or that I wake up thinking I have to spend the rest of my life in prison and not knowing where I'm at. Those are the things that are kind of traumatic.
Yeah, and he'll wake me up sometimes just yelling and it makes me really sad. I go and wake him up.
It sucks to have those dreams. I used to have them constantly. Now it's less often.
It's a lot less often. I think since we moved out of Colorado, it's only happened once or twice. We've been in Washington for about 6 months.
It's happened quite a few times. I just don't say anything
you've
about it. Yeah.
Woken me up.
Yeah.
But I used to get woken up by it a lot more. Yeah. Well.
Are we gonna close or?
Yeah.
Do we have more questions?
No, that was it. That was all the questions I have so far. But all right, everybody. Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks so much for joining us. And Adam, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it, and I hope you'll come back and make this a little more regular. It's actually nice having some company instead of just talking at the camera by myself. I will go ahead and leave my socials down in the bottom. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to take this opportunity to do that. There's going to be a pop-up here in a second. And beyond that, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day.
And if you have any questions, leave it in the
comments. Or if you don't feel comfortable publicly leaving a comment, go ahead and DM me on Twitter or my Instagram, and we'll do our best to answer any more questions you guys have.
Thanks.